Hello and welcome to Beyond Top 10 Tennis. My name is Dr. Ashley Berge and I'm your host. If you're not familiar with my work or would like to learn more about it, head on over to AIM8 International, the first tennis lab of its kind worldwide that is centered on delivering top 10 tennis rankings and is 100% backed by science. This season, we're embarking on something new, something fresh, but I've been holding back changeover segments. Will deliver how to beat the best tennis players in the world and or how the best tennis players in the world are winning with top 10 and Grand Slam differences. If you want more, that's where my 14 books come into play. So be sure to dive into them and become familiar with AIM8 International and the 180 plus previous episodes to date. Look, it's a new frontier. No longer holding back, so buckle in and enjoy the ride. Welcome to another edition of Beyond Top 10 Tennis, a special edition, I guess second or first, depending how you want to look at it, for the Australian Open. Previous episode, we did share those predictive analytics. So if you haven't tuned into that episode, track back to that one. You'll understand what this paper's for, the scribbling that I've done down there. What that's all about, and we're going to go into that today. And you'll note that I've got 3 players down. I'm hoping that I will do a handful of more each round as obviously the tournament progresses. So we'll see how that goes. Today, what's in store, all first round results, tracking through. And I think what's really interesting, both WTA Tour and ATP Tour, as anticipated, there have been upsets. And I think what's really important is that despite, I think, my best intentions in writing down and sharing with you predictive analytics, the modeling, etc. And I think I said 75% plus. Historically, it's normally 80, I guess, 84% on the women's side. We will go through that, and 81% on the men's side. Both sides, there were retirements, and we will go through that. There's definitely been big upsets as well. Maybe not that big, but I'm still going to call like some pretty good ones. So we're going to go through that. But again, this is all first round, which means I did share with you the analytics potentially for the third round. Look, second round may go to plan. All these players may progress through as anticipated, which will keep that 84 and 81% percentages respectively in sync, but it also may change closer towards that 75% mark, seeing how that goes. I may be tempted to change a few, and we're going to have to pencil in a number of where both players in that group are now a void essentially. But also, I think really exciting, we are going to have, and you can already I can already share this from the first round logic, etc., the data is concerned, very first players to reach their maiden Grand Slam round of 16. That's how much those sections of the draw have opened up, and I think it's very exciting. We see this every Grand Slam, but you can't necessarily predict it. Sometimes you can, but in this case, and that's not the case. But let's go over that. All right, WTA Tour first, ATP Tour after that. We may have a peek into what's happening next round. Live actions underway as we speak. And look, that's why I have been doing, I guess, the live analyses here with you. So if you've got feedback, send them my way. But it just means you get access to these episodes a lot quicker. So you can have a look at obviously what's going on in almost real time. We're getting there, but it's a lot quicker turnover, especially if you are based in Australia. And that's obviously where Beyond Top 10 Tennis is based, so you can follow more closely along. All right, so let's kick things off. Sabalenka over, I'll do my best to pronounce this, Rakitomanga Rajonaha, straight sets there. All right. Bay over Pavlyuchenko, but really feeling here, qualified Bay, 12-10 in that third set, absolutely brutal. I'm going to go through the the anticipated results after we quickly go through the draw. Potapova over Lament in 3. I'm calling that. That is, I believe, an upset that we did not potentially predict that. All right, Raducanu over Swiatek, straight sets there. Bocco over Jones was tight in that second. McNally got the win over Sakatume. Pauline Kudermetova over, and again, this one's a tongue twister for me. Manaste Zoeta de Reals. Tolson over Galfi, straight sets there. Sonmez over Alexandrova. Now, that is the biggest upset so far in this section. And I believe this is Sabalenka's section. So that's essentially it's actually Paolini's section. Wide open berth there. So we'll go into that in more detail, but that is looking very promising. Paolini's section, if we look at that closely for that round of 16, that should be the case. We'll dive into that deeper shortly, or after I've shared the remainder of the results. So well done to Sonmez there, qualifier as well in 3. All right, Bonda over Madalik. We've got straight sets there. Putintseva over Haddad Maia. 3-set Haddad Maia for top 10 player. Jackie Mo over Kostruk is another biggest upset. 10-7 in the third. I watched that. Kostruk rolling that ankle in that tiebreak. I think it happened around then. That was brutal. Look, she was in really good form, making the finals in Brisbane. But look, Jackie Mo, I believe, French Open last year, similar time frame when Louis Boisson progressed to the semis there, was it? I almost want to say finals, but I'm going to say semis. Progressing, definitely semis. That she won a highly fought match against Jackie Mo. I think from memory, Jackie Mo is the player. So this is not that surprising. And that is a really good breakthrough for her. Also noteworthy, Boisson, I have not seen her in the draw. So I'm not sure if she's injured again. Hopefully she has a quick recovery then, if that's the case. All right, Jovic over Volniet, straight sets. Hon over Sasuk. 3-set. Look, Sasuk retired when Hon was up 5-3, but I believe Sasuk was wheeled off in a wheelchair. Not something we like to see, but big breakthrough there for Priscilla Hon. She was a wild card and got through to the first round, or got to the second round. All right, Frech over Adavic, straight sets there. Paolini over Sasnovich, straight sets. Gorv over Rakimova, straight. Danilovic over Williams. Ooh, I tell you what, Venus almost had it. She really did. She almost had it, especially in that third. Even the second had those chances, opportunities. Venus is in the changeover segment that we will get to, but that was really interesting. I mean, it was exciting as well, absolutely. Hunter over Bozes-Maniero, straight sets there. Baptiste over Townsend, because Vondrasova, I believe it is, she withdrew last minute, and Taylor Townsend got through. But it's a little bit, I'll say, perplexing, given how well Taylor Townsend played at the US Open. Remember that huge run she had, huge results, getting through a number of rounds, playing awesome tennis, and she found herself in the qualifying. So her singles ranking obviously has regressed quite substantially to find herself in that position, but we know what Taylor's capable of. So to me, that says Baptiste is playing some sensational tennis, regardless, obviously being pushed to 3 by Townsend. Right, Makova over Christian, straight sets. Parks over Yala, that's a really good upset as well, even though these players weren't flagged to progress to the third round. Alicia Parks has done some damage lately. Iala, though, more so, I think she's been one of the up-and-comers of the last 12 months. I think it was when she shocked Swiatek. I want to say Indian Wells or Miami had happened. But that is going to be Iala's first appearance at the Australian Open in the main draw. Right, Lee over Osorio in 3. Now, this is the other big upset, Lynette over Navarro. Interestingly, though, we did have Lynette or Navarro there. It was a 50-50, so I've still counted Lynette towards, obviously, the turnover, so there's percentages there. It was a 3-setter. Look, it doesn't shock me. Lynette was top 30 last year at some stage, had a little bit of a regression, and Navarro has unfortunately been a bit of a regression lately as far as her results and the consistency of applications are concerned. All right, Svitolina over Buska, straight sets. Klimovika over Jones, straight sets there. Another retirement, though. Gibson over Blinkova. Big win for Gibson, another wild card, Aussie, getting through. All right, Schneider over Krejcikova. This was a big one. Krejcikova, that poor knee, all wrapped up. Her as well as Vondrousova. I tell you what, both of them have had a bad run. Grand Slam champions, former top 10 players. And they've got their niggles lately, which is tough for any player, especially if you've been at the very top of the game. It went to 3, but well done, Schneider, pushing through there. Upset, I'm calling it. Yastremska, former quarter finalist at the Australian Open. I think it was 24. Straight sets wins there for Ruse. So that section also opened up in the draw, although we did not have 3. Sakari over Jean, straight sets. Andreeva over Vekic didn't disappoint, but Andreeva whitewashed that third set 6-0. Vekic took the first set, really thought that maybe could cause some issues, and she almost did, but Andreeva obviously too good in that third. Pegula over Zakharova, straight sets. I think Pegula's going to be a big underdog this Australian Open. Kessler over Arango, straight sets. Selamaktiva over Seidel in 3. Bados over Diaz, straight sets. Another big upset, and we did have Fernandez to track through to Jean over Fernandez in straight sets. Typically, I see Layla peaking in the second half of the season, not in the first, from what I've noticed in the last, I'm going to say 2-3 seasons. So it's not that shocking, but I really was hoping Fernandez was going to make some good inroads, I guess, early on this season. Pliskova over Stevens, both former top 10 players. Obviously not at their peak, and Stevens had to qualify. But look, 9-7 in that first set tiebreak. Well done to Pliskova. Kruger over Belchik. Keys in straight. Keys over Olyanková, straight sets. 8-6 in that first set tiebreak. Nosko over Semastarja, straight sets. Preston over Zhang in 3. Wang over Kalinina, straight sets. Ostapenko got through over Shremko, but that was a 50-50, 4-4. Stearns over Kennan, we did call that straight sets. Masinko over Maria, straight sets. Siniakova over Udavari, straight sets. And yeah, I think we called that one as well. It's here somewhere, I believe. Okay, we'll get back to that later. Anisimova over Walter, straight sets. Rybakina over Juan, straight sets. Gracheva over Golbik in 3. Fotovatova over Sun, straight sets. Valentova over Joint. That is an upset. Joint was, oh, well, look, she's Australia's highest ranked female tennis player, but she's one of, she did not get through. We had, wild cards ranked outside the top 100 get through, for example, but Joint, whether it was the pressure, I'm going to say Valentova was just too good for it on that day. I believe it is Joint's second Australian Open after, I'm going to go second Australian Open, but first time she's ever been seated at a Grand Slam, I believe. A little bit of, I'll say, a bummer for Joint, but well done to Valentova. Right, Mertens over Taradui, straight sets. Uchijama over Sierra, straight sets. Batunkova over Kazakina in 3. First time Kazakina's representing Australia on Australian soil at a Grand Slam. Couldn't get it done like Joint. All right, Benchik over Bulta, straight sets. Benchik, I think she's going to be very hot this Australian Open. Osaka over Ruzic in 3. I tell you what, Ruzic, I swear she was this close to a very big upset there. So well done to Ruzic. I think she's going to be a player to watch this season. Naomi, though, still got through. So Stay over Lies, that's an upset. Lies, I believe she made second or third round last year. Obviously fell to Swiatek from memory, but well done to Sir Stayer. Inglis over Birrell, this was tight. Those double tie breaks. It was 7-6, 8-6, 6-7, 9-11, 6-4 to Inglis. Both those players know each other's games quite well. Inglis will notch up a number of points. I'm not too sure if Birrell got through first round last year, so her ranking may be stable. Another big upset, Seidman over Samsonova. And we did talk about this, that Samsonova should get through. I said Seidman, if it was grass, then sure. But Osaka just well done. Look, Samsonova got that first set 6-love, and then Simon, she just wouldn't back down 7-5, 6-4. Kalinskaya over Cartel, that was tight, first set and then 6-1. Graba over Kokurecho, that's an upset there in 3. Boskova over Zarazua, straight sets, and Swiatek over Yuan. Look, straight sets, but if you watch this match like I did, it was brutal. Yuan played exceptional tennis, definitely a player to watch. She did qualify. Look, Swiatek, she played okay. She is in the changeover segment, so we will get to that shortly. All right, let's go through now the analytics. Sabalenka, we've got through. So here's the proof there. You can pause, zoom in, etc. to see. Sabalenka's through. Raducanu's through. We've got Mboko, Torsen, yes, all through. Alexandrova Kostyuk sections all wide open, and then Jovic and Paolini section in their tie. So if we go third, potential of fourth, quarter final, you really need to say Paolini set for a quarter, but Sabalenka, if she gets past Raducanu, she still has Mboko, Torsen potentially. But Paolini, Jovic, Paolini really should get through to the quarters. And we're looking at, I think if I'm doing this correctly, I'm going to wait for a few more rounds. If they could meet quarters. Round of 16, Sabalenka, Paolini in the quarterfinals. Should. This section should, but Paolini looks like she's got a nicer path. Jovic's there as well, but you never know. Obviously, these players all have to get through. All right, Vondrasova's out. So Gorf, yes. Hunter, yes. Makova and Lynette, yes. Svitolina, Schneider, Tomljanovic, Andreeva. Andreeva has a very nice run. She's going to bump into Svitolina. Svitolina, she's made the semis in Australia. Quarters like big opportunity here, especially coming off her win, I believe, in Auckland. But it's opened up for Gorf. She will have Makova. That is going to be tough. But on paper, Gorf and Andreeva still should have a relatively good run, but Svitolina will cause some issues there. Gorf should be relatively safe to make her way through the quarters as far as her draw is concerned now, because we do have Navarro is out, and she potentially, historically, I think their record, Navarro's had some upsets over Gorf. So that's looking good for her from that perspective. All right, the other side of the draw, not as many upsets, but look at this. Fernandez is out. Pegula has Badosa third round. That's going to be a tough test there. But Keys, no Fernandez. So Keys and Pegula should meet round of 16. Wow, I think that's correct. Yeah, that's what it's looking like. Round of 16, potentially. That's a big one. Noskova and Asimova, hard court round of 16. Potentially, it's looking like Rybakina does not have joints, so I'm going to say her draw opened up, but Bencic is in her way. If Bencic keeps playing, or if she plays how she played at the United Cup, you have to anticipate Bencic 3 or cause an upset. And that they're on a collision course for, again, round 16. Osaka does not have Samsonova in the third round. You need to favor Osaka then to get through. And that's a tough one. If Swiatek gets past Kalinskaya, look, historically she should, but she's going to have to amp her game up from the first round. Osaka in the round of 16. And I think that could cause some hiccups. That I think it definitely could. Especially, and if we compare Sabalenka's section, Mboko Torsen, with how well Mboko has been playing lately, keep that in mind, obviously making the finals in Adelaide. Torsen, she was injured, so it depends if she stays healthy. Obviously, on paper, Torsen is favoured, but that is going to heat up. I want to see another round, confirm that these are our front runners for third round. And then I think maybe after the second round results, I think we'll push from third to round of 16. I don't want to let the predictive analytics get too ahead of us, but there's a lot, I think, to cover first, second round and to track that. And that's why we did, obviously, previous episode. Okay. Remind me, changeover segment, we will do You know what? We're going to the changeover segment now before we head on over to the men's tour, purely because all changeover segments, ironically, well, wasn't planned that way, are 3 players from the women's tour. This is what I've got. The Venus and Danilovic match for Venus. Essentially, this is how to win against Venus, and Danilovic was not doing this enough. And then finally, when she essentially turned the tables and got that win. Here we go. Very rough. Move the ball around and don't hit into her strike zone. Now, I know that sounds so simple, but you would be amazed how many players hit the ball into the other player's strike zone, essentially because they refuse to adapt their game. It blows my mind. All right, short balls, heavy balls, top spin, use the angles of the court. It's essentially like tennis 101 for the elite player. You need to mix it up. Simple point structure, change the pace. Regardless if you hit it to her, you're setting yourself up 50-50. You might be able to out-hit Venus occasionally, but not always. Move the ball around, use the court. Danilovic started to, obviously in the later part of the match, move the ball around, start working her feet again. But it went to 3 because Danilovic kept hitting it into Venus's strike zone, and it was Venus in a way deserved to win. If a player is going to essentially just feed you the ball, they need to learn the lesson. Don't hit it to your opponent's hitting zone. I'm being a little bit tough there, but Danilovic has huge potential. She definitely has top 30 potential. She almost got there last season. So, and I think this is, look, Venus was playing exceptional. Sure, her movement slowed down, but that said, she was still serving. Come on. So Danilovic will be interesting how she goes next round. Yeah. Okay. Next, we do have next changeover segment is for Swiatek and Yuan. All right. So this was really interesting. And I think Yuan, she did a very good job of exposing a weakness on Swiatek's side. Almost pains me to share this out loud, but here it is. Swiatek, attack the second serve. See how far Yuan was inside the baseline. Note how Swiatek wraps her forehand and lifts through occasionally. So twofold there. If you're playing one of the best tennis players in the world, the most active player, aside from Venus, with a Grand Slam haul, like Swiatek leads with Grand Slams, Osaka's there, obviously Sabalenka. And if you can step in on that second serve, don't hit it to the opponent. As far as momentum's concerned, the player serves, falls slightly into the court. We want that. That's a good thing. But you can manipulate that to your advantage by if you step up and you smack that ball, you put that ball away on the first strike. Swiatek actually doesn't have enough time to react. And that's what the best players in the world do. So she will do it to you if you are not obviously a Swiatek or a Sabalenka, right? And that's how she wins a lot of those points from the get-go when she's feeling really confident. I did not see that in the Yuan match, though. But you can actually flip the tables on her. Look, you can do that to a lot of players. A lot of players have more susceptibilities. Swiatek has a very tight-knit game, similar to Sabalenka, right? But when you look for those weaknesses and you see a player take advantage, I think it's almost like a neon sign. It's a big red light to be, this is a danger zone to take advantage of Swiatek's game. And if you're not doing it, then you're not obviously playing smart. So that's going to be something that will be interesting to see if Kalinskaya takes advantage of that. Not that I want to encourage it. Would love to see Swiatek get the Grand Slam at the Australian Open to collect all of them. Alcaraz is obviously trying to do the same thing. As far as wrapping her forehand, lifts through occasionally to force the error. That's really about getting her out of position. And it's to do with your perception and anticipation of the ball to force her to do that. And that's another way to force the error. All right, next play for the changeover segment is Osaka. So Osaka versus Ruiz from Ruzic, my apologies, from last night. Just a subtle one here. Osaka can get caught pulling back on the backhand if you push the ball deep enough, which means, again, so Swiatek's team, listen, if they're going to play Osaka in the round of 16, you need to get the ball deep to Naomi's backhand. It unsettles her. She pulls up. She's not able to use her body then behind the ball, the whole kinetic chain, all of that. It displaces her center of gravity. She can't use the momentum. She can't absorb the pace. Now, look, it's a micro instance there. But again, best players in the world, you need to nitpick these key data points to expose their weakness. So I'm giving it to you. There's the weakness. You can expose it if you attack that backhand in that way. And really clear in that way, because these players are the best at what they do in the world, and it doesn't happen all the time. They don't force the error all the time. It's occasionally. And on those occasional points, that's the difference between, winning a set 6-4 or 6-3 to losing it, say, 6-2, 6-1. Very big difference there. All right, that is the changeover segment for today. Let's head on over to the men's tour now, and then we can also look at how the analytics did unfold. Alcaraz, my apologies, is actually in action as we speak. All right, really quickly, let's do this. Focus on the first round. Alcaraz over Walton, 3 sets there. Walton did push him to a tiebreak in the second. Halfman over Savada, 4. Zheng over Quarter. I'm calling that's an upset. 5 sets there. Quarter, former top 30 player. Mute over Skulkate in 3. Paul over Kogovic in 3. Taranto over Vukic in 3. Opelka over Budkov at Karajar in 3. David Fokina over Mislovic in 3. So no upsets yet. Quarter was the upset primarily there. Dropping down, Bublik over Brooksby in 3. Fuchsovic over Ugo Carabelli in 3. Echevry over Keknovic in 5. We did have Keknovic or Echevry to progress, so it'll be interesting to see if he does get through to the third round. Big upset here was Ferry over Kaboli. But I think we already saw that result when we were writing this down, in all fairness, to be transparent. All right, TFO over Kubler in 3. I did say, maybe Kubler could have a chance. TFO too good there. Komasana over Kipson. That's 4 there. Middlevich over Navone in 4. Diminor over McDonald. McDonald, lucky loser there. Berrettini had to withdraw last minute, and that was in 3. Look, Zverev over Diallo in 4. I tell you what, if you watch that first set, Diallo's an up-and-comer. I'm going to be very curious to see how Diallo goes this season. He did start to make some inroads last season. Diallo definitely has top 50 written all over his game, potentially. Give him 2 seasons, I'd say top 30, potentially top 20. Maybe he makes a breakthrough this season and gets into the top 25, top 20 if he has the luck like Mboko had this season, a fellow Canadian. All right, Mueller has upset Popper. I'm calling it upset, though. 5-setter, 10-4 in that 5th set. All right, Nava over... I'll say Jacque, 5-set there, 10-6 in the 5th set tiebreak. Norrie over Bonzi in 5. We did say Norrie to progress there. Surundolo over Zhang. I don't think we anticipated Surundolo to progress, but good match there in 3. Zumur over Draxel in 3. Faria over Blocks in 4. Rublev over Analdi. I think we did favour Analdi, but well done Rublev getting through there. He was favoured, and we did take a gamble, I think, choosing Analdi down here somewhere. Medvedev over De Jong, 3 sets there. Howells over to Billow. Mazdadak over Fernley. Now, remember, and that was a 4-setter. Remember Mazdadak, he did cause some inroads last season. Curious to see how he goes in the next rounds. But I think, maybe we'll have a look at the name shortly. Madison is upset Rindenek. We did have Rindenek down. That's in 4. Teen over Giron, a 5-setter there. Doesn't surprise me, but well done, Teen. Shevchenko over Yamur in 4. Thompson over Cerundolo in 4. Borges over Felix Auger-Aliassime, a big upset there. Felix had to retire, unfortunately. Look, Felix got the first set, 6-3, but then Borges next 2 sets, 6-4, 6-4. So Ogor Elisma had to retire early, well, before the fourth set got underway. Mazzetti over Collignon. Collignon had to retire in the fourth. Mazzetti was up 2-1. Sonego over Turbinev in 3. Remember Sonego, I think he made the quarters last year, had a big breakthrough there. Makak over Dimitrov. This was a 50-50, but Makak too good. And again, he's coming off that title, I want to say, or runner-up, Adelaide, either or. Right, Tsitsipas did get through first round in 4 over Mokazuki. Another big upset. Gia over Lehecka in 3. So again, we're going to go through this. That's a big one. Wawrinka got a first round win in 4. That's great. Kopriva over Struff in 5. Fritz over Royer in 4. Lost that second set. Menzik over Karina Buster in 5. Jota over Sakamoto in 5. Hercax over Berg. Well done, Hercax in 4. Getting through that second set tiebreak, 8-6. Another upset here. Quinn over Garekenspor in 3. Vanderzen Schulp over Nakashima in 4. Another upset. Shang over Bautista Agut in 4. Mastroianni over Amare in 5. I'm calling that an upset. Mastrali is a qualifier. Djokovic over Martinez in 3. Playing too good, nice and clean. Shelton over Humbert in 3. 2 tiebreaks though. Sweeney over Monfils. That's an upset in 4, but well done to Sweeney. Hijaka over Manarino. That is an upset. We did have Manarino, I think, to progress somewhere here. But yeah, but well done, Rinky, getting through in 3. Vachereau over Dam in 3. Shapovalov over Bu in 3. Silic over Altamar in 3. Muna over Savinka in 5. Rudd over Bellucci in 3. Kakanakov over Mitchelson in 5. It's a Basavetti over O'Connell in 5. Oh my goodness. Baez over Mapeshi Perigard. That's an upset. That was a 5-setter. We did have Mapeshi Perigard, I believe, to progress. Darderi over Garin. That's an upset there. Darderi was the 22nd seed. And another big upset is Spruzzi over Fonseca, the 28th seed in 4. And I think this is the first Grand Slam, or maybe he was seeded at the US, but that Fonseca's been seeded. So that's wow. All right, so Wu over Nardi in 4. Duckworth over Primzik. Primzik was a lucky loser in 5. And Sinner over Gaston. Straight sets there, though. Gaston had to retire before the start of the 3rd set. Okay, that was a lot. Let's do a breakdown of everything that has unfolded. Keeping me honest. There you go. Okay, so Alcaraz and Mutag are still there on a collision course. Paul Dowditch, Fokina on a collision course. Bublik, Echevry on a collision course. TFO Diminor on a collision course. No big upsets there. Alcaraz and Diminor set for round of 6. No, set for the quarters. Alex and Bublik for the round of 16. Dowditch, Fokina, and Alcaraz round of 16. Zverev, Norrie, yes. No Analdi, Zimanor's here, which means for Zverev's section of the draw, his round of 16 is looking very nice. Zverev should have a straight run to the quarterfinals. He really should here, and he should potentially face Medvedev. Medvedev also a big run there. No Rinderknech, no Ogor Elisame. Best chance Medvedev's going to have to make that quarterfinals at a Grand Slam. I think it's been a little bit. Definitely. So that big section, that is the big section of the draw that has opened up. But, all right, Mazzetti's on track with Makak. Lehecka is out. Fritz's round of 16 has all 3rd rounds opened up. So he should nicely get through to face Mazzetti round of 16. That is going to be a really tough one. That will be tough how that draw has panned out. The bottom though, Djokovic and Hercax is there, and I tell you what, potentially the two of them will face in the round of 16. Djokovic has the nicest draw, depending how Hercax plays, to get through to the quarters with how I think it's all panned out. Look, no Manarino, Shelton's there, Rudd's still there, so on a collision course round of 16. No Peshi Perigard, so Kakanakov and Sinner for round of 16. So that's actually looking, I think, nice there. As far as the quarters are concerned, we're really looking at Alcaraz and Alex, so de Minaur, Zverev and Medvedev. That really should be a zero excuse to get through. Really should. Let's see if Norrie can push Zverev, but on paper they should get through. Djokovic's hurdle's going to be Hurkacz, in all fairness. Hurkacz played some great tennis for the United Cup, but on paper it really should be Djokovic and Mazzetti. Actually Fritz. Let's say Fritz or Mazzetti, depending. That's going to be a tough round of 16. But let's say Djokovic, Fritz. That's a big one, round of 16 there. And next we have, look, Shelton Rudd. That's a tough one, round of 16, but the quarter there should be Shelton and Sinner. That could be interesting, maybe, but how I saw Sinner play the other night, it was very impressive. All right, we're going to almost leave that. Almost. Let's head back to the players that have missed out. So we're heading back over to the women's draw, dropping down to where we've got Mboko will play, Torsen is going to play. But where Alexandrova and Kostruk have vacated, we'll say, is Sonmez and Putintseva. So Sonmez and Putintseva, they are already through. So I'm not going to pencil that in because I think that's a little bit unfair since that's already through. So that has been decided. Next, let's drop down to where Keys is because we want to have a look at her potential opponent now because that has really opened up. All right, Keys, Kruger. With Fernandez gone, you need to say it's between Tajin and Pliskova. And Pliskova, former Grand Slam finalist, former world number one, that would be very exciting for her to get through to the third round. Okay, all other players, no. All right, track down to Rybakina because she was meant to play joint, but no joint. So you got Fruhvirtova a qualifier and Valentova. So Czechia, someone from Czechia will be playing Rybakina. That'll be interesting to see. I'm not going to call it. We won't replace it. And then we'll track down to where Osaka is. She's got her stayer, but she will play the winner of Inglis and Seidman because Samsonova was taken out by Seidman. You need to give Laura a chance there for the third round. So that, again, will be interesting, I think, on itself. I'm not going to pen this down. These are all maybes because we've already penned that down. All right, onto the men's draw for the openings. The biggest, no, everything's in play. All right, we need to track down to Zemur because Analdi is no longer there. So we should go around that half. Yeah. All right, so we've already got an upset here. So Zemur is out. Cerundolo is the 18th seed. So initially he would have been there. And where Analdi was, it's Rublev. And Rublev is through. So Rublev and Cerundolo will face in that section. Keep in mind, the winner of that match will make a round of 16. It has been some time since Rublev made the round of 16 of the Grand Slam. That'll be really good for him with how, I'll say his last 18 months have been from regressing outside the top 10. All right, Medvedev's opponent, he's in action as we speak, but his opponent has already won through Matazan over Masarek because Rindenek was there. So Medvedev, if he gets through, will play Matazan. Again, Medvedev obviously is favoured. And with teams through, Felix is no longer there. Thompson and Borges have just hit the court. Look, Borges, former top 35, I think he almost got seeded. He's actually round of 16 in Australia before. He's also made round of 16, I think 2 or more times at the Grand Slam level. You need to give him a shot, Borges, to face Team in the third round, potentially, or Shevchenko. And look, when the second round is done, I would actually pen down Borges, in all fairness. All right, we now need to track down to where Leheka would have been, so in Fritz's section of the draw. So we got Gia and Wawrinka. And look, Wawrinka's a wild card and Gia is a qualifier. How awesome would it be for Stanley to get through to the third round and have a blockbuster with Fritz? There you go. That would be a bit cool. Everyone else, all right, Kakanakov, because Mapeshi Pericard is no longer there. So scrolling down to wherever Kakanakov is. All right. So Kakanakov has Basaretti second round. Bayez and Darderi did get through. Bayez over Mapeshi Pericard. Look, Darderi is the 22nd seed. So we really need to put on paper Darderi to get through. But let's see who Kakanakov then will play potentially as well. Because these are all like, they still have to get through their second round encounter. And Senna, because no Fonseca is there, Spiritzi got the win over Fonseca, and Wu's a qualifier over Nardi. Look, on paper, I guess it's Spiritzi with Wu. So Senna's got a nice section there that's really opened up for him. All right, so we have gone over all of that, the predictive analytics, the changeover segments. We have not done any new data points other than the verbally ones I just shared. We're going to wait until all second round results are done to check the lineup. If it stays around at 81, 84%, men's, women's, for example, I'm anticipating it's going to drop a bit, but that's just the nature of those initial early rounds. Then we'll be able to, I think, better lock in third, fourth round results. Look, we've gone over potential round of 16s, quarterfinals, etc. Let's see how everyone plays over, I guess, the next couple of days. And again, we've already had a couple of upsets initially earlier on, and it's not even halfway through, I think, in second round results. But let's see how that goes. All right, so thank you so much for listening. To grab a copy of one of my 14 books, you can find them on AIMA International, Amazon, so irrespective of where you're based in the world. Any comments or questions, head to AIMA or topic thread, or leave comments directly on YouTube or Spotify. To interact with you on Top 10 Tennis, catch up on our blogs, or to sign up to my newsletter, head to AIMA International, and remember to check out Pink Octopus Books to Spruik. Look, and if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, like, share, and or all of the above. Beyond Top 10 Tennis exists for you, so please consider sharing us with those near and far. Look, and if you're serious about heading towards the top 10, I want to know what your game is missing to secure that maiden Grand Slam or more, don't be shy and come and say hi. All right. On that note, thank you so much for listening. I am so incredibly grateful. I'm your host, Dr. Ashley Morgan Berge, and this is Beyond Top 10 Tennis.